In a shockingly mind-bending turn of events, the man that has accumulated the most Bitcoin in the world, $66 billion worth of it to be exact, yesterday stated that his company's strategy is going to be selling Bitcoin after the following quotations that were made by himself over the past few years, such as sell a kidney if you must, but keep the Bitcoin, quote unquote. Never sell your Bitcoin, quote unquote. The rules of Bitcoin: one, buy Bitcoin; two, don't sell the Bitcoin, quote unquote. What is happening? Why is strategy pivoting to an angle of seeing the sale of their own Bitcoin as an opportunity? Here is a quick word from their CEO, Fong Li.
We also have Bitcoin that we have the opportunity and the option of selling.
The opportunity and the option of selling. What changed? Should we be concerned as strategy and Bitcoin holders? Bitcoin shrugged on the news, didn't do much, which I'm very impressed about. And my strategy didn't do so much either because they didn't actually end up selling today. But I'm impressed that it didn't see a dumpage. I will share my personal opinions in this video. And of course, if you're interested in content as such, make sure to destroy the like button and become a crypto kid. Tomorrow, I will do a full deep dive on the Bitcoin technical analysis, but I felt it would be appropriate to jump and cover this news through and through. Strategy is a Bitcoin treasury company that recently pivoted into becoming a Bitcoin, a digital credit company too. I think a treasury company, to manage their internal treasury in order to purchase more of the assets via making arbitrage trading opportunities, make sense. Okay, I think Michael Saylor's presentation and their understanding of, all right, we look at the MNAV of strategy, and if it's below 1.00, then we can actually sell our Bitcoin to purchase strategy for cheaper, increase our Bitcoin per share, which should boost the price of the MSTR stock. Things like that make absolute sense, and I think they should do it, and I think it makes sense to do it. The tricky bit in all of this is their preferred equity stretch, the digital credit stretch, which enabled them to fund tremendous amounts of Bitcoin purchasing activity over the past 3 months, specifically when volumes went up. They bought roughly around $5 billion worth of Bitcoin just purely through stretch, probably even more. The thing with stretches, it is a preferred equity. I'm not going to get into all the details. We made a video on it before, but it trades at $100 and they manipulate that $100 parity by increasing the yield that is given to investors per annum, but they divide it by 12, so everybody receives the 11.5% every single month. So every single month, right before the yield is distributed, there's a huge spike in purchasing activity for Stretch. And whenever people want to buy Stretch, the volume and demand created enables strategy to issue more of Stretch, and with those funds, buy more Bitcoin. In a time where MSTR is trading at bear market lows for at least this cycle, and Bitcoin isn't seeing too much volatility, Stretch was an awesome way to continue their Bitcoin accumulation. But how are you going to fund that 11.5% yield if your company doesn't make money anymore from your software business? They lost roughly about $400 to $500 million in Q4 of 2025. They've pivoted to becoming a full Bitcoin treasury company. So Bitcoin is not an asset that can generate you a yield unless you sell. Yes, when you look at its appreciation per year, strategy is estimating 30% appreciation. They've also said 21% appreciation for 21 years. It's in a bear market. It hasn't gone up as much as people thought it would due to the headwinds from monetary policy. Saylor quotes that in the earnings call too. Bitcoin is not doing the returns that everybody thought it would do. So when Bitcoin is facing that headwind, it's facing curtailments. It's not doing as well as people expect in the short term. In the long term, we're all confident it's going to go to millions of dollars. Strategy needed to get creative and create a new vehicle, which they would have to pay a yield on. And that yield, if it doesn't come from the people who are investing, it needs to come from somewhere. It's not like a Luna UST type situation. No, that's completely different. But the only way to pay off this yield is via your software business, which doesn't make money, or you need to sell common A stock like what they've been doing, the MSTR stock, which they can't really do anymore because there isn't so much demand. They were able to raise $2.25 billion of cash back in December when demand was present. And with that, they were able to fund 2 years of stretch dividends, 2 years, 1.5, 2 years of stretch dividends. That's cool. That boosted confidence. They were able to raise and sell a lot of stretch to buy more Bitcoin. Great. But now when there is no demand and they still have to pay the yields and common A stock cannot be used to issue more shares, more capital to pay off dividends, what are you going to do? They want to switch to semi-month dividends, meaning 2 dividends per month to increase buying activity. You need to sell the Bitcoin. You have no other option but to sell the Bitcoin in the worst case scenario. They still have a runway of another $20 billion according to Grok. They could still technically raise another $20 billion of money by selling common A MSTR shares. I think, and through what I've learned through consensus, there is pressure from regulatory bodies and certain institutions that own MSTR to say, hey, look, you guys need to announce after reporting a $12.5 billion loss in Q1, you guys need to announce to the people, to the investors, that if it comes down to it, you are okay to sell your Bitcoin. And I believe that's the only reason why they went ahead and stated that they want to do a treasury management where they will do arbitrage opportunities with Bitcoin, MSTR stock, and the payment of dividends for STRC, which, you know, is is going to be the least likely scenario, at least with the Bitcoin related sales. It's going to be their last resort. And I think they did it to say, okay, if we ever need to do it, we will do it, but we'll do it in a smart way where we'll be able to purchase even more Bitcoin in the long term. That's the thing, you see. Saylor has stated that he's going to sell Bitcoin to buy more of it. In the current model which they're operating in, if Bitcoin generates an ARR of 30%, we're not meeting that target, they will see a 10.6% annual Bitcoin yield. And by the year of 2028, they would have doubled their Bitcoin holdings. We're not going at that 30% ARR. We're slightly diverging away. I think we will catch on soon, but it's slightly diverging away. But if we look at it from a conservative perspective, this is not a conservative estimation, they would likely, with the way that they're going, they would increase their holdings, but it wouldn't be a massive, massive, massive exponential increase in their holdings. If Bitcoin goes lower towards $38,000, I don't think it will happen, but if it does, this projection will be even to the lower end of, if you want to call it, a Bollinger Band. It will be towards the lower band of accumulation. They needed to get creative. They are getting creative, and if they do sell their Bitcoin to fund dividend payments, they will attract more investors to Stretch, and through the Stretch purchasing, and it will be more attractive and lucrative because they'll do 2 dividend payments per month, they will be able to buy more Bitcoin than the Bitcoin they sold. And to conclude, the conclusion is yours to make. I mean, will you conclude with Schiff's opinion of it being a Ponzi scheme or if it's actually genius? That's for you to write in the comment section down below. If you're looking for Crypto Kid's honest opinion, I believe in Bitcoin. Saylor believes in Bitcoin. I believe that Bitcoin will eventually reach millions of dollars per coin. Hence, this model, based off of that theory, should generate Saylor trillions of dollars of liquid capital. I think Saylor is going to become the first ever liquid trillionaire. That I believe in. But it's dependent on the success of Bitcoin. If you're somebody who's a Bitcoin skeptic, then this idea of being leveraged to massive degrees, of course, appears to be a bit of a Ponzi. And look, if they sell their Bitcoin, the rating on MSTR will go down. So if we look at the cons of it, the risk rating on MSTR will go down because they're a Bitcoin treasury company that is selling the underlying treasury assets. Maybe that reduces buying pressure. Maybe Stretch doesn't see the amount of buying that they had thought it would see in their projections, and that results to bad treasury management decisions. I don't know. There's a lot of variables that could affect this thing badly. Michael Saylor mentioned that if you're a real estate portfolio company who buys a bunch of real estate, makes a bunch of money from it, but doesn't sell, that company doesn't exist. They always sell to buy more real estate in the future. Ideally, like the idea is sensible, but it's just that strategy is so leveraged. And if their projections end up being wrong, in Bitcoin price, in the attractiveness of Stretch, this thing could go wrong. I don't think it would cause Bitcoin to capitulate, but it does have a risk on the price of MSTR stock, which is why, as an investor, I choose at the moment investing in Bitcoin. And if this whole plan goes accordance to their ideal, then I will buy more MSTR. I don't have an issue with that, but I will always choose Bitcoin first. That's my take on it. The people at Strategy are smart. Saylor is smart. I'm sure they know what they're doing, but we can't ignore the risks. There are risks. There's always risks everywhere. I think that Bitcoin will go to many millions of dollars, absorb all of the capital in the financial system. Hence, I think that both Bitcoin investors and the biggest investor, which is Saylor, will end up doing fine in the macro. Okay, and that's where I'll end it off. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye, guys.